Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with another installment of Mutant Monday, and today we will be talking about the new additions to the X-Men's Rogues Gallery as of the dawn of House of X, Powers of 10, and the Dawn of X relaunches. So first and foremost, we'll be talking about Orchis. Orchis is an organization consisting largely of former members of various strategic tactical organizations, SHIELD, AIM, Strike, Hydra, etc. Brought together to protect humanity from the threat posed by mutant kind. Now, in House of X #1, there was a breakdown of where Orchis members originated from, basically, with AIM actually having the largest percentage at 31%, followed by SHIELD with 24%. Then Strike, which is basically the British version of SHIELD. You have to understand SHIELD's loyalties have largely been in flux. Some writers will say, yes, they're run by the UN. Others will say, no, they're a US thing. But but Strike is basically the British version of SHIELD. Next up, we've got Sword, which is the precursor to what Alpha Flight is now. Sword's at 8%. Then we've got, Alpha Flight itself at 7%. At 5% each, we have Hammer, which was Norman Osborn's version of SHIELD when he was running the superpower community. Armor, which, if I remember correctly, Armor is dedicated to the multiverse, protecting Earth 616 from the other Earths in the multiverse. And finally, at 4%, we have Hydra. So, when it comes to members of note, we've got Killian Devo, who's the director. He's born blind, and he has cybernetic vision implants, which give him both ultraviolet and infrared vision. Next up, we've got Dr. Illya Gregor, who is Orchis' science command. But she's formerly an AIM scientist who studied mutant repopulation after the Genosian genocide. Then there's her husband, Erasmus Mendel, military security operative who obviously was, as mentioned, Dr. Gregor's husband. His former affiliations are currently unknown. As I recall, it has not been stated which of the various organizations he was a part of. And he was killed during the X-Men's attack on the Orchis Forge. Next up, we've got Karima Shapandar, Omega Sentinel. She is the machine liaison to Science Command. An Omega Prime Sentinel, former member of the X-Men, former member of the Marauders, while possessed by the initially psychic and then later digital entity Malice. Her purpose is most likely related more than anything to the fact that Orchis planned to make Sentinels. Lots and lots of Sentinels. Other members of note, some of whom, namely just people in important positions that haven't actually appeared yet, or just ones who have appeared briefly. We've got Zaha Gary, who is the head of engineering, formerly part of Alpha Flight. And Colonel Walker Kin, who's military command, who's formerly of SHIELD. Then there's Agent Goodall, who's a pilot, formerly with SHIELD, appeared a few times in House of X, and in fact was one of the was part of the group that noted the X-Men Shi'ar Interceptor before the X-Men attack on the Forge. And then there's Dr. Mars, a scientist seen briefly in X-Men #1, who, when the base is being attacked by the X-Men, turned himself and his men into apes that presumably retain their memories. Presumably. Then X-Force gave us the group known as Zeno. Zeno appears, to be at the same time both very similar and very different from Orcus. Orcus is very, now that the protocol has been enacted, they're very overt. Like, yes, this is a thing that exists. Zeno, however, is much more covert and behind the scenes, though they still will do things like send a squad of cybernetically enhanced assassins to the island of Krakoa. I'd actually go as far as to say that Zeno is more covert or even grassroots. When it comes to those cybernetically enhanced assassins, it is possible there is a link between Zeno and Donald Pierce, formerly the Hellfire Club, and or the his cybernetic gang of mercenaries, the Reavers. At the moment, there are no definitively known members, as they all wear masks. They did, as I mentioned, they assaulted Krakoa and briefly killed Xavier as well as a handful of others. They intend to funnel money into various hate groups, religious churches with a questionable message. I think something along the lines of oh God, what that I can't remember her name now, but there's a church that used to protest like anything. Westboro Baptist, yeah. Think an anti-mutant thing along the churches they plan to help make sure are funded are along the lines of Westboro Baptist. They're also planning to funnel funding to various anti-mutant shadow organizations such as Weapon X, which every single treaty nation with every single country that has a treaty with Krakoa, part of the treaty included basically saying, yeah, if you want our the medicines we have to offer, these shadow groups, you completely defund them. They get no money. They have no money. No, yeah, they're you get you close them down. Well, Zeno plans to turn that one around. The closest thing there is to a known member and or leader is the man who does appear to be the leader, who is simply referred to as being by X-Force member Domino as being the man with the peacock tattoo, which is on his hand. It appears his jacket leading from that has a peacock motif. It's actually kind of neat looking. They've also performed experiments to create genetic aberrations, more than likely making living weapons to use against Krakoa. And they tortured Domino by removing skin from her to graft onto their would-be assassins, and making a point of keeping her alive during the process. But yeah, they're kind of a dirtier, more ground level version. Then there's the organization of the being known as Apoth. What's known, very little is known about Apoth at the moment. He's been appearing in Fallen Angels. He's possibly mutant, or at the very least mutant adjacent. There's a possibility he's also related to Quenon, though that's based more on him saying or claiming to be related to her. But yeah, and he is definitely linked to the digital drug known as Overclock. That's pretty much how he's spreading his influences through it. So, but yeah, that's really, there's not much to really go on there. Also of note is the fact that the Russian military apparently employs or utilizes power dampening technology within certain defense force members that are designed primarily to defend the country against mutant threats. As for the possibility of any of these groups working together, I can't really see Apoth working with anyone. I can see maybe after, presuming he's defeated afterwards, I can see maybe Zeno or Orcus utilizing some of the tech that Apoth utilized, but that's about it. Orcus and Zeno, however, I could potentially see eventually banding together. With kind of okay, well, we have the same goal. Our spheres of influence are just different. But if we combine forces, then we would be one organization with this massive sphere of influence. I could actually see something along those lines occurring, and that would actually make for quite the viable threat to the X-Men. Anyway, as always, feel free to like, share, subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.